Yes, without further ado, we are doing top 5 snacks for gaming today. I know this is really one of the key debates I think that has marked this current age that we live in, and I think today we will have a solid debate. We will hash it
Yeah.
out. We will decide once and for all. We will do none of those things. We will have a nice friendly chat, talk about what our favourites are.
What? I was all ready with the debate rules, and you got a minute to do your first proposal, and then rebuttals and
I
stuff.
tell you, I just couldn't find a referee to come on and like ding the bell when
Oh,
we got a point. Otherwise, absolutely, that's exactly what
yeah.
we would do. That's exactly what we would do. Ah, Carlos is being healthy in chat. Carrots, protein bars, and Keiju seeds. I'm not sure what that is, but yeah, there you are. Well, we'll see.
My
We'll
list
see if
may not
any.
be that healthy. We'll find out.
And also, so I had a quick chat with Andy at the end of Sports Tavern yesterday. We had a quick chat about the fact that this was coming up, and someone in chat suggested lobster. I am going to tell you as well, lobster did not make my snacks for gaming list. I will be honest. I don't think I've ever eaten lobster, so I am a pauper. What can I say? Um,
I think I might have had some lobster once, like in a
it was
seafood medley thing or something.
It was
But it
like
seems like a
halfway
very
through a D&D session.
yeah.
You just stop for some lobster.
Just get out all the tools and have it go everywhere. That seems like a perfect
Yeah.
gaming snack.
The Ball GM says, I just have one. That's how weird I am. Number one is food. I mean, to be honest, there's a reason why I only show this much of myself on stream every day, because I'm pretty similar. I completely with you on that. I once this last time I visited Brazil, yay for currency imbalance. Yeah. Well, you can tell us, Carlos. You can be our lobster correspondent. You can tell us whether that would make a good gaming snack or not. But I thought what I normally like to do is kind of define some criteria before we start. I know. You can tell that I used to be an academic, right? I have to decide on my variables first, and
I'm worried that you haven't told me them before I was coming
no,
up
no,
with
no,
mine. So I
no.
hope this is all valid.
So I think no. What I like to do with all of these is talk about my criteria, and then give you a
Ah,
chance if you want to talk about what your criteria are. You
yep.
can you can go for anything. You can be as wrong as you like. It doesn't matter. Uh, so what I kind of went for is I was thinking mostly in terms of like tabletop gaming, like D&D, that kind of thing. But I think really these are quite transferable to like computer gaming, video gaming as well, because a lot of the things like bite size is a good thing, because you don't have to like stop for ages, get your cutlery out, that kind of thing. Things that don't make too much of a mess. Lots of similar things go across. Although having said those two criteria, I am well aware that my number five doesn't really fit either of them. So, you know, that's what you
Number
have to do
fun.
to be right at the top of the list, and then we go
Yes.
from there. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. That's kind of where my top five came from. Do you want to share anything about
Yep.
your method?
So definitely the kind of method, yes, like bite size, easy to eat was definitely up there. There was also definitely considerations around not leaving any kind of residue on fingers while eating things, because especially if you're handling minis or whatever, that's terrible. And also trying not to be too noisy to eat, because I know that like if you're in a middle of a like emotional moment in D&D, you don't want someone just being there like
Okay,
so
time to
yeah.
make my final death saving throw. Will my character survive? Will they die? Rustle, rustle, rustle. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I completely with you. Oh, Konani says carrots and hummus is a nice snack. Not too messy, decently healthy. Absolutely,
Hmm.
absolutely. That's definitely
Yeah.
a good option. Yeah, there
Yes.
is a certain crunch on those carrots. We're onto the nose.
Yeah.
But I think what I will say is, obviously these are the kind of the criteria that I've been looking at. But as we go through, you can't find things that obey all of these criteria. So
Yeah.
some of these things don't necessarily fit into those criteria.
Yes, and looking at all of the things in chat, being vaguely healthy probably should have been one of my criteria, but
Well,
wasn't.
Carlos does say, having said all those healthy things, he does say usually his favourite snacks for games are fat. I assume he doesn't just mean like a block of lard or something. You know,
Lord.
yeah. Carlos is just bite-sized scallops would be a good option, but I think I mean, quite right. But let's not go too far down this. I'll be honest. There is no seafood whatsoever on my list. Although sushi was close, actually. I love a
Oh,
bit of sushi, and that does
yep.
kind of fit into those areas. But I didn't go
Yep.
for it. That's little spoiler alert. I didn't choose it. So let's get cracking.
Yep.
I'm going to go first, everybody, partly because I can hear the noises and sound effects that I've made, and Pod can't. So I know when I can start talking. But also, the secret reason I like to say is because then Pod gets to unveil his number one last, and it's like the big focal point. Because obviously that's crucial in a important discussion such as this.
Yes. Yes.
So let's get ourselves started with at number 5. So, number 5 for me. It doesn't really obey any of the rules that we've just been talking about, funnily enough. So I've gone for, and I'm not even sure if this qualifies as a snack, but I make the rules, so I don't care.
Yep.
I've gone for pizza. Now, I feel like pizza is a bit of a classic. I'm not sure I've ever actually eaten it during a game. Carlos has just said pizza. I don't know if that was in response to what I said, or if it was on his own.
Yep.
But yeah, he's gone for pizza. So I think it's maybe it's the kind of thing that you need to take a bit of a break during a game for. Rather than, as you say, you don't really want pepperoni juice on your minis and your dice or your controllers or whatever other thing you're doing. Kanon says sushi before the game, before sure, but with soy sauce there's a decent chance of spilling if you're distracted or dice heating the container. Yeah, true. Yeah, you do have to be a little bit careful. That's true. So pizza is not really bite size. It kind of leaves a residue on everything and is a bit messy. I suppose it's not that noisy as a rule unless you have a really crisp crust. So, but I feel like it is quite a classic for gaming sessions. I feel like if nothing else, it's the kind of thing that you'd be like, right, let's play for 3 or 4 hours and then we'll just order a pizza or whatever it is. And so I did change the name of this to Snacks for Gaming, not Snacks While Gaming. But I think it's that thing of like after the game finishes, you've just killed the big bad. You've just done all those things. You can all sit around and eat a pizza and discuss all those high points of the game. Do you remember when you rolled that one? Oh, that was amazing. And so it's kind of that like social food. I definitely wouldn't necessarily recommend it like in the middle of a game where people would probably be a bit annoyed if you were like handling all their minis with pizza residue on them. Rucola pizza can be noisy, perhaps, says Carlos. And he also says we used to eat pizza almost every game back home. There you go.
Wow.
So, yeah, and again, I don't know whether it really counts as a snack, to be fair. I think that, again, probably shows why I'm currently in the state of fitness that I am, that I view pizza as a snack. But, I just got a bit peckish between meals. What shall I go for? I'll just order a pizza. But I definitely think it has that kind of social aspect to it, which I think is important for this kind of thing, I would say.
Yeah. No, I think that's really it's kind of one of those foods that when you're kind of getting towards the end of a gaming session or towards your mid session break or whatever, you can order it and that's all the prep that needs to be done, and then eat it out the boxes and there's no washing up to do. So it's very good from that point of view of being able to kind of get back to the action quickly without having to worry about all of that other stuff.
Yeah, very true. I will just point out, so I have a watch that tells me when I need to do more exercise. I got so excited talking about pizza and swung my arm so much it thought I was doing exercise. So this is clearly this again tells you all you need to know about me. Pizza got me so excited my watch thought I was doing exercise. Oh dear. But yeah, it's exactly that. It's that kind of it's so many flavors. It's an easy way to appease everyone. That's absolutely true. I think that again is another reason why something like sushi, that's very divisive. You're not likely, if you've got a big group of people around a table, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. Whereas pizza, I mean, I'm going to say my favourite kind of pizzas tend to be like pepperoni, sausage, a bit of meat on there. I am now trying to be better about the kind of meat that I eat generally, but like those kind of good meaty flavours. But as you say, if you get a couple of huge pizzas for everyone, you get one that's like vegetarian, one that's meaty, all those things. Yeah, dude, spent an absurd amount on Just Eat over the years. Yeah, absolutely. There's so many options now as well, especially through lockdown. The options seem to have just multiplied as well, which is, it doesn't really affect in-person gaming because I haven't done any in-person gaming for it. French fries and filet, like a steak. It's one of Carlos. Again, that's a little more high end, I think, than I've tended to go with my options, but that's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yes, go for the classy snacks.
Unless that's a pizza topping that we're suggesting, French fries on pizza.
I had never even considered that. If that's a pizza topping,
I tell you what, this is not a gaming pizza, but I'm gonna take a few. Yeah, it's a pizza topping, says Carlos. I'm gonna take this back a few years to when I was a student. My favourite pizza topping was kebab meat.
Nice.
I know. It's you have a bit of like kebab meat, some chili on there. It's
I mean, that really has that uni feel to it.
perfect for when you
yeah.
get back at 2 a.m. Yeah, but
Yeah.
not so good for like halfway through a D&D session, probably. Konani says you have to put your money where your mouth is when you RP a classy high elf. We're back to the lobster discussion, aren't we? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You get halfway through a session with playing a snobby high elf, and you send your
Oh.
butler to get you some snacks.
Yeah, have a D&D campaign where throughout the entire campaign you have to have snacks that your character would eat, and that just puts an extra level of pressure on character creation of like, well, I'm going to have to eat as this character for the next however long this goes on.
Yeah, I love that idea. And now there's a discussion of sweet pizza going on in chat as well now. Pizza in Brazil is very creative. That's good. Yeah, I have had some. I have had some sweet pizza, but it's definitely not what I would associate with kind of this kind of area that we're talking about, like snacks for gaming. So, yeah, but I think we can agree that serves a purpose, but I think it doesn't hit all the criteria for being the best snack for gaming. So that's why it's at number 5 for me. Yeah. So, hit us with your number 5, Pog.
Well, so my number 5 was, well, I'm gonna say brand names throughout this, but obviously any type of this thing is also available.
We're not on the BBC. We haven't made it big time yet to be on the BBC.
And just to be clear, I'm not being sponsored by any of these, but if they want to, then you know. So my number 5 is Celebrations. So that kind of mixed chocolate things because they're bite-sized and you have a nice kind of variety in there. So there's generally ones that lots of people can eat. It's not higher on the list because 1, if it's a hot day, they can get messy, and 2, they're not the quietest of things to eat with unwrapping everything.
I don't know if celebrations are something that are widespread outside the UK. So I will just say, so celebrations are like tiny versions of full-size chocolate bars. So you get like the tiniest Mars bar you've ever seen, and a tiny Snickers. I can't remember what else there is in there, to be honest. But it's those like it's tiny versions of those things. But they come in like little foil wrappers. So you could definitely do have celebrations in the Netherlands and in France. Yeah, Twix I think is in there. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, like Maltesers and yeah.
So yes, you could definitely have that rustling issue as you go through there of those things.
Yeah,
but yeah,
and you need some forward planning so you don't because putting the wrappers back in the box with the ones that still have chocolate in it is always annoying. So then you have to have something else to put there. Otherwise, you end up with the wrappers all over the table, and it's just so there are definitely lots of considerations when it comes to having this sort of thing. But it is kind of good variety, bite size, and most of the time isn't too messy in terms of like residue on fingers or anything like that.
I'm not going to lie to you. If I was DMing a session and I reached in for a celebration and I just kept getting empty wrappers, that would be a recipe for a TPK. I'm just putting it out there right now. I think you're right. Yeah, it is a good one. I think those bite-sized ones. My issue with those, and it's purely a personal thing, is I just can't stop myself keeping going. So you have to you have to concern yourself on such things, but. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's kind of a list for an issue for me on most of the things from my list, which is maybe why they're in the top 5 because they're things that I like eating too much of.
Yes, I think the advantage with these things is when it's for like a gaming session, you can slightly plan ahead. So just to set a bit of a scene, so Pog and I used to live years and years and years ago. We lived very close to each other, but going back like 7 or 8 years, we used to game together, and we lived like an hour and a half apart or something driving wise. And so we would go to the other person's house, and you could stop off at, I think it was normally Tesco, but again, other supermarkets exist. And you could pick up what you were going to get for the game. So this is almost like creating a shopping list on those occasions for going around. So yeah, you make sure that you buy one box, and then that's enough for everybody. But it's not so much that I'm just going to be sitting there pigging out in the corner. All of those things going on. So yeah, no, I think that's a good choice. That's a good choice. And as you say, unless it is a very hot day, tend to not be too messy, apart from all those pesky wrappers. But I think what we're establishing here is probably you need to have a good like bin or like bin bag or something near the table anyway.
Good waste management system.
Carlos says solid choice. I think that's a good one. I think that's a good one for number 5. You want a solid choice in there at number 5. So that's good. All right. Well, let's get on to number 4 then. So I have to try and remember. I haven't got them written down today, so I'm stalling for time while I try and remember what number 4 was. Number 4. So apparently I've done so much exercise. My watch has just told me I've done enough for the week. I mean, it is the end of the week. I will say Saturday is the end of the week for me. So this is how excited I get by snacking. Uh, a bar of good chocolate, one, yeah, probably all of them. Rexish is going for. Well, we just had chocolates in at number 5 for Pog. My number 4. Don't worry, I'm going for brand names as well. I'm going for Doritos at number 4. You can, this again fits into very few of the categories we established at the beginning. Makes a lot of noise, leaves a residue on your fingers. Yeah, rustles, all of those kind of things. Yeah, Rex is just going for a bar of chocolate 1 through 5 is the plan. Yeah, we've only had one chocolate thing so far, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, so I just think I was torn here. I wanted to put some kind of crisp based or chip, if you're American, kind of based thing in. And I went. I'll be honest. I was kind of torn. I was thinking. I was thinking Pringles because they're a good option. And they're very self-contained as well.
Yep.
So there's no rustling bag. They still crunch, but you're a bit of an animal if you're making too much of a noise eating Pringles. So the Pringles are nice and contained, but honestly, I was thinking about flavors of Pringles, and I just couldn't get excited enough about any of them. Yeah, salted peanuts is another good one. That would kind of fit in with this category. You want something really good and salty when you're doing these things sometimes. And then, which is also why I then would have to buy like 2-liter bottles of liquid to come to bring with me to drink, because you know salt does this to you. But yeah, there's something about the flavor of Doritos. I hadn't had them for a long time, and then we had them recently. Yeah, you want to get salty during the game, absolutely.
Are we playing League or tabletop?
Yeah. No, you want flaming hot something if you're playing League of Legends. Yeah, there you go. Carlos says just play League of Legends beforehand. I suspect that was done just before your thing. See, salt and vinegar is a shout from chat. Generally, salt and vinegar are one of my least favourite flavours of crisps. I'm in danger of getting disowned by my mother-in-law, who said salt and vinegar Pringles. But salt and vinegar generally, I don't know. I'll be honest. Like, I'm not that big a crisp eater generally, but I am the kind of person that if you open a bag of crisps in front of me, not if you're eating a personal bag of crisps. I'm not just going to dive in and eat your crisps. I just want to make that perfectly clear. But if someone opens like a big bag of crisps, you have to keep it away from me because they will be gone. So I can go like weeks, probably months without eating crisps, and then someone opens some, and then they're just absolutely gone.
They are definitely that sort of thing where just like ease of access is such a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably with lots of these things, because anything that's a really good snack is if it's just there, it's like, ooh, num. Oh, well.
Also, they're good, you know, especially if you're doing it like while gaming or something. You don't want to grab one at a time because that's very disruptive. So you want to grab a handful, and I have big hands. I can't, you know, there's nothing I can do about that. That's not my fault. It's a foreign flavour on the continent. Yeah, I guess salt and vinegar is quite a British flavour, isn't it? A lot of British people do love a bit of salt and vinegar, but it's I don't know whether it's we Brits are just we're over it now. But that said, salt and vinegar on chips, so I guess like fries to a lot of people. Yeah, you've got to go for salt and vinegar on your chips, your fries. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, but not on crisps. Apparently, is my thing. Oh, they're hard to get in the Netherlands, says Konani. So yeah, I guess what I've done with a few of these really is kind of gone for a specific thing, but it's kind of representative of a group, I guess.
Yes.
So this is
Got
kind
a bit of a
crisps,
category going on.
And but I've gone for Doritos as like perhaps the pinnacle of the crisp genre. Yeah, I know.
They're going to put that on their advertising. From now on.
Doritos, the pinnacle of the crisp genre. Absolutely, absolutely. Carlos is saying Brits are famous for odd flavours. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably fair.
Just being odd in general.
I don't know what you mean. I didn't have black pudding and haggis for breakfast. No, I didn't actually, because, you know. But, yeah. Brits have a little bit of a weird sense of taste, I think, but you know, you've got to go for it. But yeah, so there you go. So that's Doritos at number 4 for me as a representative of crisps. So, what have you got at your number 4?
So my number 4, again going for brand names here, and I'm sure other things of this are available, but I haven't had them. So I've got Timbits at my number 4. Now, if people don't know what Timbits are, they are basically the holes from the inside of donuts. So they're small, round donut things. We get them from a shop called Tim Hortons, which is why they're called Timbits. And yes, they do a whole load of flavors and just put them in a box. So you have like 50 little round donuts in a box that you can just snack on.
They're otherwise known as donut
delicious.
holes, by the way, is their thing.
Fair
donut
enough.
holes. Yeah.
So
Yes. Yeah, I'll be honest. Tim Hortons appearing near us was a bit of a nail in the coffin for any hope of healthy eating that I have. Tim Hortons are awesome. They do really good coffee as well. Since we're doing coffee chat and minis, I have a bit of a up and down relationship with a lot of the like takeaway coffee places. Because I'm quite particular about my coffee, but I love a Tim Hortons dark roast coffee, and they're basically So in America they're called donut holes. So donut holes. Yeah. So Timbits is a Canadian company, but they've just started. I was about to say colonising Scotland. That's a slightly over dramatic way of putting it. They've started setting up some shops in Scotland. So that's kind of where we've been going to, and basically it's like eating like one bite mouth-sized donuts, which is it's a dangerous thing. Tim Hortons is kind of like the Canadian Starbucks. That's kind of true, but they do much better coffee than Starbucks, I think. I say that I don't absolutely hate Starbucks coffee. I don't think it's nearly as bad as some people would have you believe, but Tim Hortons is a step above as far as I'm concerned in the coffee connoisseur stakes. That's a good shout actually. I probably if I'd given it more thought, but if I'd got there, potentially that would have made it into my top 5. But yes, Carlos enjoys their cold brew. Yes, they do very nice cold brew actually. I have to say, I love a good as someone who spends their entire life like overheating. Cold brew is a very good invention as far as I'm concerned in terms of coffee. So yes, I do like a Tim Hortons cold brew. But you can. I don't know if it's the standard thing, but the Tim Hortons here as well. You can like ask for the kind of Timbits that you want, and they'll be able to do like a selection of things. And good times.
And especially with. I don't know if they did it before lockdown, but they've certainly done it after lockdown. As they now deliver, well, if they've got them, they deliver Timbits straight to your door, so you don't even have to leave the house to get tasty donut things, which is,
it's very dangerous. So you don't even it cuts down on the walking. You only need to walk to your front door to get donuts in your face. Cold brew. I know we're going off track slightly, but cold brew is getting a lot of love in the chat. Cold brew coffee is. I appreciate that for you, Pog, who doesn't like coffee. It's probably not a great thing.
Well, iced tea works. So I'm not sure Tim Hortons do they probably do an iced tea. I don't know.
They do an iced tea.
Okay, I haven't had one, but
There you are. Well, next time you get some Timbits.
Some iced tea to wash it down with.
I tell you what, I'm just going to reiterate. If any of the companies that we mentioned on here wants to sponsor us and send us anything, please do send us cold brew coffee, iced tea, and Timbits, and we'll be happy. I will happily feature them on the stream because I'm a corporate shill, apparently.
I'm pretty sure Tim Hortons have already featured on stream a couple of times.
True. That's true. I don't think I've ever eaten any of the Timbits, but I've definitely drunk their coffee on stream. So that's all good. That's all good. Right, time is running away from us if we're not careful.
Oh,
that was number 4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So let's go on to. It's number 3. There we go. So it's number 3. Now I'm gonna get my halo out. Give my halo a shine. My number 3. I was going to say might be controversial, but I think with everything else that's gone on in chat already, it might not be. I'm putting grapes in at number 3.
Ooh.
Now, grapes fit into all the criteria that we've talked about before. They are like bite-sized. They don't leave too much of a mess. You don't make too much noise. The reason they're at number 3 is, let's be honest, because they're not as good as like some of the unhealthy stuff that will come above them. But I think again, I'm kind of using grapes as an example of the healthy genre again. So. There was grapes. The first time that I heard. I'm not sure that I. There's a crunch in your mouth, but the pop isn't that audible. That's very true. So it kind of goes back to what Konani was saying earlier as well about hummus and carrots. That's another good option that kind of fits in here. But as you say, there's a little bit more of a crunch. That I heard of it. Oh, it's the first time you've heard of grapes as a snack during a game. I see. Yes, Rexish is quite right. Seedless grapes needs to be seedless grapes.
Yes.
The seeded grapes are just an abomination. I don't know. That might be a slightly strong term for them, given that that's like how they produce more grapes and everything. But
Yeah. Yeah.
eating
Not good for
seeded grapes is horrible.
Yeah.
But yes, so I'm gonna kind of phrase this in terms of, so I'm a bit of a nervous eater. No, that sounds wrong. That sounds like I'm nervous to eat. I'm definitely not that. When I get nervous, I like to eat things. So when
Comfort
you're playing,
food.
yeah, exactly. When you're playing a game and like the battle is getting really tense, I can just be like shoveling stuff into my mouth because it's like, what's going to happen? And if you're eating like grapes or some kind of fruit or vegetable or whatever, it's slightly less bad than if you're just like, all of these chocolates in my mouth.
No.
Not only is my character making a death saving throw, I am as well because I've just eaten 6,000 calories. Yeah, so it's that kind of that healthy option for during that game. Yeah, that always used to be the slightly weird thing. As I was saying earlier, when coming around to yours, and it would be like pop round to Tesco. Okay, we'll get some crisps, we'll get some chocolate, we'll get some drinks. Now I'll go by the vegetable section and pick up like fruit and like whole just like punnets of tomatoes because I'll just eat them. I mean, I freely admit that I am weird because I will eat as a snack just like frozen vegetables. I'll just go for it, still frozen. I don't tend to do that at the gaming table because it distracts people for some unknown reason. Apparently, just eating frozen vegetables is so weird; it distracts people. But yeah, grapes is a great one because, as I say, you can get like a whole bunch of them, and even if in one combat you eat an entire bunch of grapes, it's not like it's exactly great for you, but it's going to be less bad for you than imbibing 20 Timbits or whatever the equivalent might be.
I like it's imbibing Timbits. It's not eating them. They're going down so fast that it's kind of drinking.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, that's kind of thing. And I think so. I do think there is definitely a place for the healthier snack. We did talk about it at the beginning. A few people suggested healthier things, and I definitely think there is a place for it because. I could definitely, particularly if it's a tense session, let's say we're playing D&D for, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours, I could basically graze constantly through that time. And doing it on grapes or, carrots or whatever else is a slightly better option for, especially in those days where it would be an hour and a half drive home afterwards. If you've just, you feel slightly less bad for all of that.
And I think there's also, like, especially... Like we were saying earlier, like the amount of the number of times we get to do like in-person tabletop gaming is quite rare for like whole gaming sessions and things. And so when it's like once a month, once every 2 months, having kind of unhealthy snacks or whatever is not as bad as it could be. If you're doing like a weekly game or twice weekly game or whatever, then definitely some consideration on what you can just snack on without it doing horrible things to you is definitely a consideration worth taking into account.
Whether your character or you survive longer into the game. I think one thing I meant to mention actually at the beginning was I think a lot of this depends on when you play your games as well. So I kind of was thinking of this as being like, let's say you've got a weekend afternoon. You start at, I don't know, 2 p.m. and you just kind of play through till you finish. Most of the D&D that we play at the moment is actually like evening time, isn't it? It's like you finish your day of work, or not work in my case, you have your dinner and then you go and play. And so actually like the snacking environment for a D&D game is very is a very different thing. So I think I was definitely mostly thinking of those like long afternoon sessions. Even I can get through like a 2-hour D&D game without snacking too much. Carlos says, he tends to prefer weekdays since it gets a solid schedule. Yeah, it does tend to be a bit easier than like often we've had to kind of put a couple of games on hiatus recently due to my health stuff, but we would have games which were like once a week, every like Wednesday or whatever it would be, in the evening after work, and that would be like a 2.5-hour game, something like that. Or alternatively, you do like once a month, everybody gets together, whether it's physically or online, and you basically play for as long as you can. As long as you have stamina for, and the so that's kind of what I'm thinking of in terms of thing. But absolutely, you're right, Carlos. The thing is, if you do it like roughly once a month, that means that it can easily be like one person says, "Oh, actually, I can't do this that weekend because I've got that going on," and the next person does. It's a little bit easier. Obviously, still life comes up. But like an evening after work is less likely to randomly have, I don't know, someone getting married that you have to go to their wedding or whatever it would be. That would be a very
How
random.
dare they?
Wednesday evening, 8 p.m. Come to my wedding. Yeah, exactly. Rexish says salted, no butter popcorn. Not that tasty, but healthy enough. Yeah. Well, we might see references to something similar coming up. You never know. You never know. So that was my number 3, wasn't it?
Yep.
So Pog, number 3.
Well, my number 3 is popcorn. So,
Good segue.
Yes.
Thank you, Rexish.
Yeah, nice work. Yes, worryingly, this might be the healthy option from my list. As what Rexus mentions, it's not quite as bad as other things. Depending on the type of popcorn you get, it can be not as calorific as like chocolate or like pizza or different things. I do have a sweet tooth, so I tend to go for sweet popcorn or salted caramel popcorn, which obviously makes it even less healthy. But yeah, like having the like bite size, it tends to be very dry, so you don't get any residue on the hands and things. It can be a bit loud, which is part of the reason why it's not number 1. Depending on how crunchy the popcorn is, but yeah, it's really easy to just have in a bowl and kind of have there as a snack that's not too bad for you.
Carlos says Pog just forgot his number 3 installed chat suggestion.
I've got it. I can show you the thing. I've got it written down.
But I'm going to. This is not me being rude and skipping over your thing, but I'm going to go straight on to number 2. It's number 2. Don't worry, it's just a long sound effect because my number 2 is popcorn. So I'm going to go straight in. My favourite popcorn is a mixture of salty and sweet. That's where it's at. For me personally, I don't want the like super ridiculously sweet popcorn because that doesn't do anything for me. And I think when I first had salty and sweet popcorn, it was just like, what on earth? Why would you ever do this? But it's definitely grown on me. I was like, Konani agrees. That's the stuff. Mix it up. Yeah, absolutely. Salty and sweet is where it's at. So you get a little bit of everything. And as you say, popcorn has that great advantage of being generally, particularly when you're doing like that kind of popcorn, is like it's pretty residue free.
Yeah.
When you get you get all kinds of weird and wonderful popcorns, at least over here.
Yes.
Like chocolate popcorn, salted caramel popcorn, all kinds of things. And sometimes they do get really sweet residues on them. But yeah, I mean, like, so when we had the one shot on the channel a couple of weeks ago, we had 2 giant bowls of popcorn because because we're both growing boys.
One way or the other.
Yeah, indeed. We wish we were most of the time, but yeah. So salted and sweet popcorn. So what if you had to nail down one preferred popcorn flavour, Pog? What would you go for?
It might have to be salted caramel popcorn for me because I am a bit of a fiend for anything that's kind of caramel or salted caramel.
Yeah.
And it's just a good kind of mechanism for transporting that's not quite as unhealthy as just like eating a solid block of caramel.
Not quite.
But not quite, nearly, but a little bit healthier.
The one downside I will say to like a salted caramel popcorn, as well as obviously I've had myself of it, is sometimes depending on the consistency, is it can get like. Well, popcorn generally can get caught in the teeth, but like if it starts gluing your teeth together, it's your turn. Yeah, it can be a little bit difficult. I do.
Yes, the king. I just wanted to say that I'm really respectful of everything.
I just want to quickly scroll back into some chat because there are a few things here. I once had a store that was selling popcorn with sriracha or Tabasco or something like that. So like a spicy popcorn. Oh, that sounds interesting. I do quite like a savoury popcorn. Can be really nice, actually. Can be really nice. Unfortunately, the only one's buying it, so they stopped selling it. Absolute nightmare. Order from Harry and David's. Are they the... Do they do... I think they might do like chocolate stuff often. I'm not sure. We'll have to. Maybe Rexish can give us some more information on that for anyone who is now basically. I feel like we're just spending an hour just trying to convince people to eat bad stuff. So if you get to the end of this, you're like, "Oh, I desperately need some popcorn." We'll be able to offer you some links or something.
There were grapes on the list as well. We're being healthy.
They were. Yeah, I can tell you the best place to go and buy grapes. I don't know. But Konami also said in there saying trying to restart a game that was stopped because of COVID, and some people want to play on the weekend. I use that exact reasoning to say no to that. Since I'm the DM and we play at my place, that means weekends are a no-go. Yeah, I think it's yeah. There are definite strengths and weaknesses to playing weekends and evenings. I feel like those weekend sessions were great because kind of everyone getting together for a long time, it means that if you want to spend half an hour catching up about stuff, you're not losing game time. Well, I mean, you are, but you're losing from like a 6 hour session rather than like a whatever session. Okay, Harry and David's are great if you live in the US. There we go. I suspect people watching live, it would be the middle of the night in the US, so we probably don't have too many of them, but we will have, this will go up on YouTube and people will be able to watch it on demand. So yeah, do check out Harry and David's. We've got to recommend it. Again, we're not sponsored.
Nope.
Well, this is definitely just isn't us trying to get a sponsorship. It's fine. But yeah, Carlos loves weekends for regular one shots. Yeah, I think if you want to do like a one shot, which is just like one big session, you can't beat weekends for gaming like that. So yeah, awesome. So yeah, Popcorn was your number 3, my number 2.
Yep.
So hit me. There's no way to say this without sounding bad. Hit me with your number 2. No, just tell me what you have. Which snack have you selected as your second favourite treat?
Well, people that know me will know that I really love sour sweets, like actual sweet things. This may have been my number 1, but moved to number 2 because I think it can make more noise than the number 1 on the list. But I've gone for sour Skittles as my kind of sour thing there. So I really love sour Skittles. I think they taste great, and they're also obviously easy to bite size or do handfuls of, depending on how greedy you are. But yes, the kind of if you have them in a bag, then that can rustle. If you have them in a bowl, then they tend to kind of clink against the edges and things like that. So they can make a bit of noise there. But yes, I think they're a really nice, easy snack that again doesn't leave residue and yeah, tasty.
Yeah, they have the advantage of having the like shellac on the outside, don't they? So yeah, there's no danger of any like detritus coming from them. Yeah.
Yes, because like Tang Fastics are one of my favourite sour sweets, but they're just covered in sugar on the outside, and then that's going to go everywhere.
Yes.
So.
Although Tang Fastics, we did at one point we did some simple maths on Tang Fastics to discover. This is how healthy we are. To discover how many Tang Fastics you would have to eat in a day to get your equivalent of 5 a day of. I know it varies around the world, but the UK government says you should try and eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. We discovered that one of the bags of Tang Fastics that we got told us what percentage of it was fruit and veg.
Fruit juice.
Yeah. And so we basically, it was something like you had to eat 500 packs of Tang Fastics in a day or something.
It wasn't that. The size of bag that we had, it was 125 bags was 5 portions. It was 25 bags per portion of fruit and veg. So
125 per portion, or 25? Did you say?
25 per portion, right. So 125
so it's only 125 like family sharing bags of family Tang Fastics to get you 5 a day of fruit and veg.
I mean that's possibly like theoretically possible to eat. I don't know.
Yeah. I think that's next week. We'll give it a go.
Yeah, we are going to be playing a one shot next week, so not on the channel.
Yeah. No, we're yes, non-streamed, but we're trying out Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay for the first time in a long time next week. Yes, yeah. I think the only criticism I would have with the sour ones again, and actually the sour Skittles are not like ludicrously sour, but again, the strange as someone is having a like emotional moment at the other side of the table, you're there going as your face is imploding due to sourness.
Yeah.
I can see that might be just a smidge distracting, but yes, I think apart from that, all the criteria that we've established so far have been met. I think they're a good option. Lots of chat. So Carlos saying Haribo is a good snack. Rexish is saying sour cola flavored gummy bears. I'm not sure if that's something that we get very easily over here. Sour.
No.
Because cola flavored stuff we get.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about sour cola flavor.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen that. Certainly not here.
So, next time I'm over in Germany, I'll have to pick up a bag because that's where gummies are everywhere in Germany.
Yes. I seem to remember one time when you guys came back from Germany, there were some like incredibly sour sweets that you brought back or something that
I
were fun.
think well, so
Can't
Chris,
remember that was from.
I won't say that. The boss, my wife loves sour stuff as well. So at one point for like Christmas, as like a little present to go with other stuff, I ordered her like um, from some unidentified internet source, things which were meant to be like the sourest things ever invented, and they actually were genuinely sour. You can tell a good sour candy based on the fact that like it is exactly that thing of like your face is imploding. It's like you can't help it. Yeah.
That is going to be the thumbnail for this.
So, yeah,
You
it
know it's going to
absolutely
be.
is.
Yeah.
Twitch and YouTube both hate me. That whatever has happened within a video,
Yeah.
well, so I don't think you can change the Twitch thumbnail. You can change YouTube ones, thankfully,
Yeah.
but it always picks the worst moment to give me a thumbnail.
Yeah.
So it'll be the VOD. Will be Pog just like looking a bit confused and me going. Obviously, the more I do, yeah. Maybe it will
There we
get
go.
both of us doing
moment. Yeah.
everything.
So,
Germany is a fan of paprika flavour and sour ones. Yes, I do like a nice paprika flavour, like a nice paprika flavour or paprika. I don't know which it would be, but yes. In Germany, paprika is pepper, so it's like a bell pepper. Is that right? No, I'm getting confused. I'm getting myself confused now. I shouldn't try and do these things on stream. Rexish says, "Where did we go?" I think we're still here. Can everyone else still see us? Okay. You might need to just refresh your page, Rexish. Oh, I am right. Yes, paprika is is like a bell pepper. Yeah, good. Bell pepper equals paprika. Good. Cool. So that was
number two.
Number two. So here we go. This is leading on again. Chat are so good at doing these things. It's number one. That's my favourite sound effect. I'm gonna play it again just because I love it so much. I made these, so this is very self-indulgent. It's number one. So my number one is in fact gummy sweets. The question was where in Germany? Ah, right. I'm with you. Sorry. Yes, the question was where in Germany did Carlos go? Sorry. Clearly, just the thought of all these snacks is getting too much for me.
Yeah.
That's the trouble. My number one is gummy sweets. So,
Well,
yeah.
just so that we can have a good discussion, my number one is Haribo Star Mix. So we're all in agreement.
Number one. So we could just spend the next like quarter of an hour just discussing that. Yeah, I was actually gonna go for Haribo Star Mix, but I wanted to hedge my bets a little bit. Having had in the past, I'd had like specific versions of things kind of exemplifying a genre, as it were. But I kind of hedged my bets a little bit. So, but tell me why for you Haribo Star Mix, and then we can have a bit of a general discussion about the area.
I mean, I think it's that like gummy sweets are so good for a snack because they're basically silent to eat. They're tasty. They're bite size. Certainly in something like Star Mix, you get a variety of. I mean, the flavors aren't that far apart from each other, but you do get a variety of flavors in
Unidentified
there.
fruit
And
1, unidentified fruit 2, unidentified fruit with creamy foam layer. Yeah.
And especially if you get the big plastic kind of round tub version, then you don't even have rustling of packets or anything. You can kind of pick it out nice and quietly from the thing as well. And because it's not sour, you don't get the kind of facial expression thing from sour stuff. So it kind of ticks all the boxes. And good injection of sugar to keep really hyper during the game, which is great fun. And then spend hours trying to actually sleep afterwards if it's an evening one. But
particularly because obviously I will have been mainlining coffee at the same time. So sugar and coffee is a classic combination for these things. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think when we were talking about our criteria at the beginning, and I think this kind of fits into all of them. As you say, it's absolutely grabbable. It's the kind of thing, and like it's not like a boiled sweet or something, which is a very it would be a weird thing to have anyway. But it's not like something that your turn finishes, you grab a sweet, and it gets back to your turn, and you've still got a sweet, and you're trying to struggle with. You can grab it and eat it, and it's basically gone. Which is a weird thing to say as a strength of something, but yeah, it does that. As you say, it's kind of, and I think it also has the advantage that normally with mixes like that, I find different people have different preferences. Even though, as we said, they basically all taste the same anyway. But like, I quite like the foamy ones, but I know some people don't like the foamy ones. You know, so there doesn't tend to be quite so much of a argument at the end of wow, you've eaten all of this kind. Ah.
Who's going to eat all those bounties for me? What?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Poggy's not a coconut fan, so when we were talking about celebrations earlier, which contain bounties, which are coconut, it's. I did threaten him earlier when coming on Coffee Chat and Minis to say that he should have a coffee made with coconut milk, but apparently that's not happening. Yeah. So exactly, you kind of end up with what's Honor booing? I'm not sure.
Probably the fact that I don't like coconut.
Oh, it could be, and it could also be the fact that I like the foam ones because I know Anna doesn't like them so much.
She can boo both of us.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it. Then she gets to have all the ones that, all the things that she doesn't like, all that we don't like, rather. In the Netherlands, we have a gummy licorice mix. My missus always leaves me the licorice ones. Oh, there you go. And do you like the licorice ones, Money? That's the question, or do you end up with them? Actually, I'm gonna go back to one of our earlier things based on this thing. I used to work many years ago now. I used to work, this was back when I was doing my PhD, so like over 10 years ago probably. I worked with someone who, I can barely bring myself to even say this, but we're going back talking about Doritos. And they used to, their side of the story was that they loved the flavour of Doritos, but not the crisp, and their husband liked the crisp. So they would eat the flavour off the Dorito and then give it to their husband. I don't for 1 second believe that their husband. I think they just wanted an easy life. But that's I probably should have put like trigger warnings when I was saying that. That's
lick the flavouring off the crisp and then give it.
There we go. And Konani says sometimes the missus even goes as far as to bite off the gummy part and feed you the licorice part. There we go. But that's definitely not as bad as the Doritos thing. That's just weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the reason I went for gummies generally is exactly all of those reasons. But I think it's one of those things where, like, on a different day, you might feel like a slightly different mix. So like the Star Mix is good, but it is a little bit kind of limited in terms of what's there. Chat are still just reacting to the idea of the Doritos.
Yeah,
it's I've set them off. I do apologise. Yeah,
it's going to have a mature rating for the YouTube video now just because of that.
I know, and the fact, so I have an awful memory, as we've established. The fact that I still remember that, like 11 or 12 years later, shows that it just like scarred me at the time. Yeah, just the thought of it.
I've been counselling ever since.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carlos, just going back to gummies, usually the Smurf Strumpf ones, because they're the cheapest. Yes, the Strumpfs are is the name of the Smurfs in German, I believe. So yes, it's the cheapest ones. I mean, that's definitely not a bad option with these things. I think that in France it's Strumpf as well. There you go. So in Germany, when we've been in Germany, they do. We have pick and mix in the UK, but pick and mix is a bit limited in the UK. But you can get amazing, like even in like random like department stores, will have amazing pick and mix of gummies in Germany. So you can make your own mix, So I feel like that when you can make your own mix, that kind of has to be any mix that's pre-made for you, unless you're a complete.
Because you're rubbish at making.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I hate these. I'll put these right in there. I guess the only downside, though, as we've said, Weihrauch for the win, says Honor. Yes, so that's the shop with the thing. I guess the only downside, though, if you're making your own mix, is it doesn't have that thing of, well, everyone can find something that they like in the mix, because you never want to give away, I chose this because I want to eat it.
My precious gummies.
Yeah. So you'd all have to go to the shop beforehand and buy your own mix. So
now extending the gaming session to include the trip to the gummy store now.
Yeah, so now we've got, you go to the gummy store, and then you come back, then you play your games, then you eat the pizza at the end. So my number 1 and my number 5 kind of bookend it.
And you get the delivery of coffee and donuts in the middle.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I suppose I could allow that. I suppose I could allow that. There we go. So that's that. Sorry, carry on.
I was going to say, basically, we're just planning next weekend at this point.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I'm not sure where we're going to be able to go and do pick and mix to get gummies. That's the only thing.
Find somewhere. Lots of googling.
Might have to be Haribo Star Mix, but not the end of the world.
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go. We've had our there you go. Carlos is saying brainstorm plans for next week.
Yep.
So that's our top fives. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about them and about our reasoning. If we've missed anything, I know obviously you guys have been suggesting some things throughout, but if you feel like we've got to the end and you cannot believe that there is something that we have overlooked in our conversations, please do let us know. I think I've said before, I'm really bad at choosing top fives because I hate like making lists and choosing what's the best thing. And for this, I'll be honest, I did feel a little bit less pressure. It did feel like if one snack gets left off the top five, maybe it's not so issue. Carlos says, I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of this, so you might have to help me. Pão de queijo. I mean, queijo is obviously cheese, like queso in Spanish, and Käse in German. And yeah, cheese bread. Yeah, I mean, I know the missus had a shout overnight when we were talking about this of just like a charcuterie board of like meats and cheeses and things like that. So yeah, that definitely was could easily have been up there. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of carrots or peppers and hummus. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Konani. I feel like bell pepper would be a little bit less crunchy as well, so would probably solve some of the the sound issues, which we've got to look at these things logically and sensibly as we're randomly talking about food to eat while gaming.
I mean, like sound was one. People that know me very well will know that nerds are one of my kind of favorite kind of candy snacks, and it was kind of the sound was the reason they did not appear in my list, because you get them in the boxes and trying to eat them tends to rattle a lot, and then they crunch a lot as well in your mouth. So sound has definitely been a thing in creating the list.
Also, I feel like on my channel, which is undeniably nerdy, talking about eating nerds is probably a bad idea. So, Carlos, or cherry tomato to feel like the steward of Gondor. Yeah, unfortunately, I did say early on, I did used to eat just like cherry tomatoes as the equivalent to grapes. But yeah, I never really tried just having them dribbling down my face. Like, what's his name? Denethor, yes. I could not think of his name for a second there. Boromir and Faramir's dad. Yeah, Denethor eating cherry grape tomato in the movie stained me, says Carlos. Yes, it's that perfect example of like you see him eating and you know he's like mad or evil or
the
whatever.
Worst.
Yeah, exactly. But it's using that as an example of telling that story of you definitely wouldn't want him around your gaming table. I feel like as Denethor was probably had one of those giant boards where they use those pushers to push around the armies as Gondor is doing these things. Imagine the mess he's making there as he's got like tomatoes all over the place just dripping absolute nightmare. And he's well, I was going to say he's the king. Obviously, much to his chagrin, he is not the king, but he is like the leader of he's kind of the head honcho in Minas Tirith. And so no one is going to say to him, mate, can you just wipe your mouth before you come and push these toy soldiers around? Yeah, absolute nightmare. Yeah, absolute nightmare. Yeah, steward. Exactly. He's the steward of Gondor. Yeah. But yes, the point still stands that he is the most important person in Minas Tirith right up until the point that Aragorn arrives. Yes, he's the main name of the human world. There you go. Yes. But fortunately, his way of eating has not caught on amongst the other humans, as far as we see in the movies.
Yes.
Yes, it's it's how you tell, and it's interesting actually. You could imagine someone who is doing like playing a game. You could tell that they were the edgelord or the bad person to play with because they were crunching away and rustling, and you could do it in exactly the same way, couldn't you?
Again, like having the snacks that your character would have. You just eat like the worst human imaginable to be like, oh no, I'm secretly the villain.
Yes. Konami voting the next emote for the channel is Denethor eating tomatoes. Oh man, I don't think I could. I don't think I could inflict that on anyone.
Is that better or worse than like a goblin licking the flavoring off a
I
Dorito?
was just thinking, we've now had in the this one stream, we've had two ways of scarring people through eating. So
Yeah.
yeah, I do apologise. Interesting question. Would your list change between TTRPG, wargame, and board games? Well, you've got 3 minutes. Go.
Don't think they would for me because each of those involve like handling pieces or whatever with your fingers, so that kind of has the thing. I guess for like war games and board games, being silent and stuff isn't as much of a thing because you're unlikely to have kind of emotional moments in the middle of a game of Warhammer or whatever.
You don't know my
But
Warhammer life.
oh no, the Blood Bowl. No, no. So yes, I guess being silent might not be as much of an issue.
I think the only thing that might change it for me is turn length. So even like the number of players in a TTRPG could change that. So like if you're playing in a very small party, you want something that will be literally like one bite gone. Whereas if it's going to be, let's say, 10 minutes before it's your turn again, you've got a little bit longer. You can have something that might leave a residue and wipe your hands, all of that stuff. Yeah, Carlos says he's not even going to ask about TCGs because the thought of food residue on cards and things, yeah, that would be not a nice thing. So yeah, I think turn length would be the key thing for me. I don't think the genre of game would change the type of snack I was eating necessarily, but yeah, like how much time I had to prepare myself for my next turn, I think would. Honor says fondue. Yes, because dripping cheese everywhere will definitely be a good thing. Now I've just got the image of Denethor eating fondue, and it's not a nice thing to say.
Yeah, cherry tomato covered in cheese.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos is on the fondue or raclette. Yeah, both good options. I mean, I happen to know that Belalurion has a fondue set. So
yeah, I don't know if that was just on a wanting fondue next weekend more than anything else.
Yeah, could be. Good times. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being here. Oh, Ball GM says in our gaming club we have little cards people can put on their table that ask people to not eat or drink on the table and wash your hands before joining us. Some board games are really expensive. I think that's a really good idea. I think that's a really good idea. I think it's a very polite way of doing it as well, because I think some people wouldn't necessarily think about it. And I mean, I guess you could argue that that's not very, that's a bit self-centered or whatever. But you just kind of, yeah.
And especially if it's like a gaming club that's in a store or whatever, there might be people who kind of wander in who don't realize how expensive these things are. Because if your experience of board games is like Monopoly or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, I'll pick up a pewter Monopoly piece and not particularly care. But if it's someone's
the pewter dog is not an incredibly valuable board game piece.
I mean, but then also, something that someone has spent hours painting is a rather different thing to a random metal piece that you can just wipe clean.
I mean, if it's an actual old school pewter piece, eating while you're handling that is a bad idea anyway.
That's true.
I think you pretty much have to eat the entire mini to get lead poisoning, but that's not really the point. I think so. I think having a polite way of just kind of saying, please don't eat or drink around here, and that kind of thing, I think is a very useful thing to do. I mean, I think, to be honest, in COVID times, I think everyone should be washing and sterilising their hands and stuff a lot.
Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, there we go. Right, I'm going to wrap it up there because we're at 11 o'clock. Thank you guys so much for being with us. It's been wonderful.